Well, hi there, racing fans, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways, where we got Laf here after a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, good weekend. No, the World Cup's been outstanding, James, and my beloved Irish, didn't they make me proud? They were falling down like Welsh players. What's that?
They'll win the World Cup.
Yeah, you have been on the right, and it wouldn't worry me. I'd like this box to win. If the box don't win, I'd like the Irish to win. But weren't they impressive, James? They just showed that passion can carry a lot.
They showed they're well drilled too. They can
Fantastic.
play.
They can play.
That Joe Schmidt, he's different class.
He's going to be probably
coaches everything. Did you see the Japanese play after that?
Yeah.
They whipped the Yankees. First time since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. They won 3 matches at the World Cup, Japan.
Yeah. And they never got to the semi-finals.
Yeah, there was a stiff, tight game with the Scots.
Gee, most people would have got to semi-finals. You win 3 games.
You win 3 games, you go through, and they have won 3 games that didn't go through.
Yeah.
So, but it all looks very interesting. The All Blacks look powerful. The Aussies look powerful. The South Africans are starting to get some semblance of go forward. So I think it's going to be good. I wouldn't write to France just yet. They seem to have the ability to beat the All Blacks.
Will smash them.
The French.
Yeah.
They've said that before. I was actually at the game.
I was at the game. Said it before, I was
at the semi-finals, James, when they were 14-0 up, the All Blacks. Yeah. The French beat them.
Yeah.
Irish have never beaten the All Blacks, so they had to have the draw with the French.
No, the Irish end up now playing the Argentinians, who they'll beat.
Yeah.
And then they'll beat the Aussies, and they'll be in the final. But the All Blacks will smash. I'm telling you, the All Blacks will give the French a hiding.
James, you'll be singing the Fields of Athenry with the crowd?
Just to make up for last time.
What's that?
Just to make up for the last time when the French beat them, the All Blacks. So they're going to give them the All Blacks are going to give them a proper smack.
Okay.
Okay.
And the South Africans, you've changed your stance yet?
No, South Africans will get to the semis. How can we not win our next game? We've got to be able to win our next game. But I think we might have a problem.
But all in all, great viewing.
We might have a problem against the All Blacks.
Jim, great viewing.
Great viewing. And then the other, there's lots of stuff. We'll talk about it in current affairs. We've got lots of things to go through. Let's go and have a look at our 3 to follow.
Dad, distorted humor. He's probably one of his best sons at stud.
I'll have another. Wins the Derby. Lilacs and Lace, 48-1 upset.
He's just a big, strong, leggy horse.
Right, well, we're going to the Vaal because unfortunately we didn't have any Saturday racing, but we will, there was there, but we didn't get it. Anyway, Tuesday the 6th of October, we're going to the race 3,000 meter maiden plate for fillies, and let's go and have a look at this classic.
Classic rider, James.
Imperial Topaz, striker. Maybe he thought that there were 2-year-olds going for 800 meters.
Yeah, I think Striker thought it was 4 furlongs down the side of Everest, as Matthew Lips likes to say. This was off like a dirty shirt, and he's a claiming apprentice, isn't he?
Yeah, well, watch the last 200. Okay, I cannot be Striker.
This is quicker than a $1 massage. It's out there. It must be 4 or 5 lengths clear of these speedy horses, and the money had come for it. It's called Imperial Topaz. It's from the Louis Goosen stable, in Mario's colours, and soon quickly clear. And for all intents and purposes, you think this has just got to keep running to win, James.
Yeah, well, it ran sideways to the inside fence.
Seemed to lose it a bit there.
The Striker's still sitting, but going through the 200.
It's hanging.
I don't know, he pulled a stick, and it's like this is...
This horse is hanging so badly, it makes Striker look very unbalanced here. Have a look at Striker here. This is not the usual Striker bouncing around.
Yeah. Check a couple of bounces. I think his legs got a bit wobbly from going so fast.
That is very quick. There's a very quick horse called Imperial Topaz. It found the support. Keep an eye on
it. It's
Imperial
by Silvano out of a Personal Hope now. So
there's every chance of going a bit further if they can settle it.
Right, we're going to go same race meeting, Vaal. We move on to race 4, 1,200 meters. Sean Terry's just got chain
The
rolling
conveyor belt.
along. It's just a conveyor chain of these horses, and this is a very nice filly, Magical Mood. She looked unlucky to get beaten, but I must say the winner, Grand Maroon, Carl Zechner, rode a very, very clever race and got away from her. So let's go and have a look.
Yeah, the horse we found for you has been highlighted. It's called Magical Moon. It's a trippy out of a Cosine mare, and this runs for Sean Terry, as you say, and the famous, now famous Christopher Nykirk Silks. And the winner's horse called Blazing Brave. It's got blue blinkers. It goes clear on the outside, and a horse called Song from Seattle showing speed. And I think the early speed of Blazing Brave just had enough to beat this field, James.
Yeah, there's a horse here that you might be able to keep an eye on. A horse called Scotland. Didn't run a bad race at all. Ran better than Scotland at playing rugby, but certainly worth having a close look at. But Blazing Brave's in the middle, and Christopher Nykirk's colours. On the outside is your winner. Blazing Brave, Magical Moons in Christopher Nykirk's colours at least.
Yeah, this horse, he's let it run again. You can see the tactics have been, must be very quick up there, because Stradum, we've seen earlier in the day, has let one roll. Now, Sabanga Kumalo's on this debutant, and this debutant's trying hard all the way up the stretch, trying to get to Blazing Brave, and goes under by less than half a length.
Yeah, and here it looks like Blazing Brave is on empty, which he is, but he just keeps going, and I think this horse will win next time out. Probably be a short price, but it certainly looks like it will win next time out.
A good run by Winter Rebel in third.
Yeah, okay, so that's not a bad couple to follow. We're going to the third one, and we're going to go to Scottsville on Sunday. And Wendy Whitehead's yard is in tremendous form, and she stepped out this first timer from draw 15 at Scottsville. You've got to have guts, and you've got to have a horse to do it. And Alec Forbes, he's a jockey you want on your side anytime. He really is a good rider. Watch this.
Yeah, this is a horse that's come into 13 with the scratchings, and it's named Free State. We had a stallion called Free State a few years back, but this it flies out of the gates, very quick, and it shows good speed. There's a couple of fast horses around it, but this is its debut run, and you've got horses like King's View and similar who have plenty of speed. But the way this horse quickens, James, and nice to see Jeff Perkins' colours again. Jeff's having a wonderful run. He's a new guy in the game, and Ralph Smart, the lucky vet, is with him.
He deserves
not
it.
Ralph Smart, no. Ralph Katzwinkel, I mean.
Ralph Katzwinkel, yeah. Ralph Smart wishes he was a vet. But he's a grass vet, a horticulturist. Yeah. Anyway. And this horse is in the yellow colours now, and it just now gets picked up on his bicycle. Goodbye. Free State. Do you remember where Free State stood?
In the Free State?
No. Wrong. First time wrong. Pat O'Neill, I think, stood it, if I'm not wrong.
This is a very nice horse, James. I really like this filly. She's got robust, and she's by?
Free State.
No. She's by the stallion that's making them all look good. I'm going to test you. Come on, Moritz Fontaine.
Yeah, strike smartly.
No, keep guessing.
Ideal World.
Very good. This is by
I was
Ideal
going to say
World.
Horse Chestnut.
You're working your way through it. But Ideal World, James, has really made people sit up and take notice. This is a cracking good win. And the speed of this Ideal World, because they're winning Group 1s over further, I was very impressed with this horse.
Well, he's got everything, Ideal World.
Yeah.
Got a pedigree. He produces beautiful looking horses. And although they take a little bit of time, you see when he stepped out this, and it absolutely dawdled in. And this might be a very, very good filly.
Yeah, she's a very fast filly. She's got a good pedigree. And keep an eye on Free State. That's the third to follow. And well done to Jeff and Ralph. And nice to have got another decent horse.
Right, we're going to go and have a look at the blast from the past. We've got another November handicap, because as you know, we're coming to these races, and we're going to the 1998 November handicap. This was the beginning of the real Mike de Kock assertion of
dominance.
As a champion trainer. Yeah. Let's go and have a look at Smart Money.
Gates are open. Soft falling rain, pulling clear. Soft falling rains won the SA Nursery by 3.
Racing in the 2000 Guineas. Gates fly and they're racing in the Godolphin Mile.
They're off and racing.
Weight didn't matter. Class tells. Soft falling rain, much too good. Soft falling rain, an impressive Guineas winner. Soft falling rain is drawing clear.
He's made it 7 out of 7 by winning here today.
But it's soft falling rain who is powering away for Seat the Mining Style. A high-class performer wins the Nay of Joel Stakes.
Editor. Rarotonga Treaty going in. We're about all set. In the R500,000. Germiston November handicap. Blossoming Fields going in to complete the lineup. They're all in a straight line. Fields sent on its way from the 1600-metre marker. Rarotonga Treaty, Starlight Strike straight to the lead for Ricky Maingard. In third is Prairie Breeze, on the far side is Sovereign Seas, and they've been followed then by Blossoming Fields, jumped beautifully today. Then there's a couple away, then is Smart Money at the rail. The Philly Circle of Life is 5 lengths off that leader, Foreign Press. There's Classic Flag in the white colours, the yellow cap is there racing, 1 off the rail and 7 off the leader. Drum Star is 3 wide on the outside, still 7 off them. Then there's a length away to Calvin's Man behind that, United Land and Chief Editor Racing, also about 7 lengths off that leader. Then follow the Falcon. They head now towards the 800-metre pole, and Sovereign sees the leader by a couple of lengths. Starlight Strike is racing away there in second. Blossoming Fields on the far side. Then comes Rarotonga Treaty behind that, Drum Star. Prairie Breeze 4.5 lengths off the leader. Smart Money is back at the rail. Classic Flag is racing 5 lengths off him. Circle of Life is on their outside as they turn for home in the R500,000 big one. It's Sovereign Seas, Blossoming Fields, then Rarotonga Treaty, Drum Star, Smart Money 3.5 lengths off the leader. Classic Flag's under pressure. 300 to go. Blossoming Fields, Sovereign Seas, Smart Money's at the rail. Rarotonga Treaty, Drum Star, Circle of Life, the filly on the outside. 100 to go. Blossoming Fields just in front. Smart Money starting to kick on strongly now. Smart Money coming home at Blossoming Fields. Smart Money, Blossoming Fields. Yes, the line, and Smart Money. Smart Money got up in the last stride to win it from Blossoming Fields. Many thought that Classic Flag, although he had rested with 57 on his back, he's beaten these fellas time and time before. But the money came for Smart Money in no uncertain terms, and this was brilliant riding. He was caught in the rail. He had to come around these horses, and against grade 1 horses it's not easy to make up that ground if you've got a good one ahead of you. But Smart Money is equal to the task at hand here today, and he's come away to win.
Well, that was absolutely brilliant. Blossoming Fields, the old boss, was in charge there. Come on, Lev, get yourself organised. The old boss was in charge. Ferraris and de Kock against each other, and Mike de Kock got the better of him.
Yeah, so very good horses, those two. But didn't they both work for Mr. Ferraris at one stage?
Yeah, both of them worked
two good students.
Yeah, for Orman. Orman is still around. You know.
Yeah, absolutely is.
Still cruising along. Goes about his business, winning races left, right, and centre. Very good trainer. Very good. On top of his mark, and his son David in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
different class.
Top trainer.
Mike de Kock all over the world.
Brilliant trainer, yeah.
So, you know, they're all there, and we're going to have some very good blasts from the past in the next couple of weeks. But let's go and have a break. There's going to be a race coming up.
Norman's on the inside, towards the outside, Royal Security Power, Fly First Class, Tiger Territory, Mr. Whatever Needs Running Room. On the outside, Barbosa's running a big race. Barbosa now comes home powerfully to hit the front, and it's Barbosa, Fly First Class, Norman's on the inside. On the outside, Mr. Whatever, but Barbosa still goes, and Barbosa has won it. Second, maybe Mr. Whatever. Third place, Norman's.
Well, this horse, Barbosa, was rumoured to be the business on the day. Looked like it. He'd beaten a lot of these horses before. Some of us thought that he was beatable, but, you know, that's the way it goes. 18 to 10, 2 to 1 at best. He started off at about 14 to 10.
He's a very good horse. He's a lightly raced horse, and he's very talented. A lot of people looked at the 61.5 and said, well, you know, it's against him. But, James, most of them at 60, apart from Beckerdorf and Royal Security Power in the 50s.
Yeah.
There wasn't much in it.
And you know, he's been a fantastic horse. You look at a dynasty for the trotters, Fine Feather.
Yes.
The Dam was a very good race.
Good filly
herself. I think Alistair trained it, didn't he?
Yes.
And she was top class, and she's ended up producing about 4 or 5 top-class horses.
Yeah.
So she's a
Well,
very
Bose is a good sprinter. And I want to ask you, you got the hat-trick.
No.
Craig calls it a genuine hat-trick. What's a genuine hat-trick?
No, that means that it's a genuine hat-trick. It's not like a fluke hat-trick, you know.
No,
Otherwise, you'd say it's a fluke hat-trick.
I can't work out. I must ask Craig what a genuine
I'll tell you what happens. If
What's
you
a
bowl the first 2 bulls and you get him like Radaba did in the...
Yes.
did you see the end of the test, the one
Yes.
day? How
Yes.
did we give
Yes.
those Indians something to think about?
Yes.
Durban was in mourning.
Yes.
But there, it
All
doesn't matter.
morning.
Radaba took 2 in a row.
Yes.
And then if you'd taken the 3rd one on a run out, it wouldn't have been a genuine hat-trick.
What rubbish. You know, people had said years ago in football, 1 left foot, 1 right foot, 1 head. I've looked it up. There's nothing to say. I just don't understand where this genuine hat-trick. Hat-trick's a hat-trick, I thought. What do you think?
Yeah. It looks like you got a hat-trick. The way,
I got a hat-trick.
The way you're moving hats around, it looks like you got the hat-trick.
I got a genuine hat-trick.
Can we go and have we got emails today. That's going to be a bit of fun. There's some people going to get it in the neck today, and we're going to aggravate everyone, but let's go and have current affairs first.
Bet on any sport at any time, even during play. From as little as R2, you too can be part of the action. With over 20 sports betting options, Interbet offers you more variety and the best odds. Go to www.interbet.co.za now.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Current Affairs. And this week, no racing locally, stakes racing, but we did have the Dewhurst, which we want to show you a little bit later. And we've got a bit of racing news to touch on. But James, a quiet week going into the big one.
Well, I'll tell you, it didn't have a quiet week. It was Mayfair speculators at the sales. They spent quite a lot of money buying about eight horses at the sale that's just been in overseas and at Goffs. They bought, I think, 8 horses. Spent about €3 million
to race internationally.
3 million guineas to race internationally. Horses by the best stallions around. Galileos, there were a whole lot of Galileos. So, you know, they didn't have a quiet week.
And that's wonderful. That's nice. That's so Marcus and Ingrid have purchased horses to race internationally.
And Bernard and them had a runner in France in the first race. We'll find out what happened to it. I think it's today. And in France, they've got a runner together, so with Andre Fabre. So that will be interesting.
Andre Fabre. So I know they've got different trainers and that. So is Bernard going in with Marcus? Do you know anything?
They've got shares in horses together, I think. Yeah. So listen, there's all types of interests that they have.
So Marcus is a major international player. Eh?
Major.
Well done to him and his wife. Excellent to see that they're going out there and they're purchasing their passion, getting some good horses. And let's hope they find a big one, a Derby winner or something.
Absolutely. The only big news as far as racing is concerned is we've got the Guinea's favourite. He's now 7-4 favourite, the Air Force Blue, the Warfront, winning the Dewhurst. And I think we've got that up on camera.
Yeah, we're going to watch that.
Let's go and have a look at that, and then we'll come back to you and tell you about the race.
The biggest 2-year-old race run in the UK, and Adventurous straight into a clear lead from Sanas per Aquam on the near side of Twin Sails. Then Massart in the blue and white striped cap. Black cap on the far side is Tashweek. Then Air Force Blue going just ahead of Emotionless. So William Buick will have Ryan Moore in his sights as they race through the first quarter mile. And Adventurous by 2.5 to 3 lengths over Sanas per Aquam on the near side of the orange jacketed Twin Sails. Then Air Force Blue in the dark blue, Massart, Emotionless, and finally Tashweek as they race on towards the halfway stage in this Group 1 prize. Adventurous and Joe Fanning, Sanas per Aquam, the Somerville Tassel Stakes winner in second place for Jim Bolger, seeking a 6th Dewhurst, then Twin Sails, Massart, Air Force Blue. They're getting quite strung out. The pace has really increased, I fancy. Further back, Emotionless is on the right now, getting close to Air Force Blue. Far side, Tashweek. Adventurous still leads the way as they run on downhill towards the final furlong and a half. Here come the big two on the right of your picture. Air Force Blue has got Emotionless in trouble. Emotionless is beat, and Air Force Blue now comes bounding through on the near side with Massart giving chase, but Air Force Blue begins to open up 2-3 lengths clear. A really good horse. Air Force Blue wins the Dewhurst by 3 or 4 to Massart, and then came Tashweek and Sanas per Aquam. Emotionless.
Well, there we go, the 4 to 6 favourite, Bar Warfront, who's really flying, and they're running on all surfaces, the Warfront. But this is a special horse. Air Force Blue, won well, James.
Yeah, the pity was that Emotionless, who was the second favourite from Sheikh Mohammed's stable, Charlie Appleby, he broke down in the race. He chipped a knee.
Okay.
So he's going to have a little operation. But, you know, he was expected to give Air Force Blue something to think about. Air Force Blue has been priced up at 7 to 4 for the Guineas next year, and I would have thought that's pretty generous. The way he won, he's not going to start 7 to 4 unless something comes out the wings, because Aidan O'Brien went on record as saying this horse is special, and he doesn't say many horses are special.
Oh, James, I'm starting to get tired of his great chirps, you know. Australia was the best horse he'd ever trained, then it didn't win again, you know, and then before that, this was the greatest. You know, not many of them were better than Galileo.
Yeah, no, he was very, very bullish about this horse in the post-race interview. I mean,
they got short memories.
You know, anyway.
Well, it was impressive. We can't knock him. He knows these horses. But he's got a conveyor belt of well-bred horses, James.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And this is a good stallion.
I was reading a very interesting article in the Thoroughbred Daily News. It was written by one of the scribes in America about how they run their operation. And they cherry pick, and there's been a lot of cherries that have been rotten, okay? But there've been a lot that have been very good, and the operation runs on the ones that are very good.
James, they send the good ones to stud.
Yeah.
They buy into the other good ones that they haven't got, and like Vancouver.
Like all the big players do it, you know.
Yeah, and so they're
the only one who hasn't done it is Ramsey in America, you know.
Yeah, well, he got his stallion.
Kitten's Joy, and he's just kept the kittens going.
Just kept the kittens going, and brilliantly. But Air Force Blue, remember the name, as James says, going to be odds on for. It'll probably end up odds on if nothing comes out the woodwork for the Guineas.
Yeah, but the other big race in Europe was the Pas de Boucher.
Oh, that sprint.
The Volta Pas de Boucher. This is a race over, for those of you that don't know, over 6,600 meters. They jump 30 fences of all shapes and sizes, and it is like the greatest steeplechase ever. It's in Czechoslovakia, and if you ever get a chance to go to Czechoslovakia, go and watch this race. It is phenomenal. They all come out in their masses like a public holiday on the day. And it is the most strenuous race ever. No fatalities, no big problems. But I watched the race thanks to African Betting Club, put it up on their website, and it really is a phenomenal race to run. Charlie Mann won it. Charlie Mann is a trainer in England. Okay. And he won it. He was warned off. He wasn't allowed to ride in England because he had broken his neck. And they wouldn't allow him to ride in England. They wouldn't give him a license. He went over and won the Pas de Boucher over 6,600 meters. Okay.
So he can ride.
Yeah, he can ride. It's with the Grand National. It's like the Grand National of Europe. So I don't know who won it, but
well done to Charlie Mann.
Czechoslovakian is not too good. That was years ago. Charlie Mann won it actually. No, it wasn't recently. China Horse Club.
Yeah, they're stepping into action.
They're stepping into action.
Now they've got runners all over the place now.
Well, they had their first winner in America, and it was a horse called Beat the Drum. It was in Santa Anita, and a trainer I don't know trained it, but the interesting thing was by Duke of Marmalade.
Is that right?
Yeah, who stands here now.
Yeah, that's right. They're doing very well.
Yeah, so that was extremely interesting. China Horse Club, first winner in America. We'll see what some people have got to say about young Peter Gibson. We got emails. They're going to be quite interesting. Anything else from your side?
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things. Just to touch on, firstly, Fastnet Rock, 87 stakes winners. But what's come out of America I found very interesting, James. The Americans have now decided, because of all these cobalt problems that have been coming out predominantly from Australia, people have been warned off in that. They've adopted the racing medication and testing consortium recommendation of cobalt in the system at 25 nanograms per milliliter of blood. So that's the accepted norm that they're using. I think it could be a worldwide norm in time to come. And there are increased penalties when the reading exceeds 50. So 50 nanograms per milliliter, but the stage or the level is set at 25. It's a big thing, is cobalt, James.
Well, there are a couple of big things going on because in the guy Graham Motion, who I think trains for Barry Whiteshoes. Yeah, he was caught on a metacarbonyl positive. Now, metacarbonyl is something called Robaxin, apparently.
Yes.
It is a muscle relaxant, which you wouldn't think would help racehorses too much, you know.
Well, people try anything.
He said that he gave the horse Robaxin, metacarbonyl, or whatever, a week before the race, and the cutoff is 48 hours. And he has a full go at the racing chemists about how sensitive their screening is. He's had 23 years, he's never had a positive in his life, and he's now got this, and they want it. Interestingly enough, you know what his recommendation is? The recommendation from the Jockey Club in America, the authorities, 5 days warning off, okay? So it means he misses 5 days racing, not allowed to race for 5 days.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so it's like us getting 2 weeks, okay? And you know what the fine is?
No.
$500, okay?
Jeez. Here we get 100.
Here we get 60,000 rand
40,
or 40,000 rand. We're so out of kilter, it's not even possible here. But anyway.
But the way our rand's going,
the point is that when you work it out in stakes and whatever and what they can earn, it's like a real slap on the wrist. The same in England. Metacarbonyl is something that's used apparently on horses' backs, but it can hang around in the system for quite a long time. Now this guy, he is fighting the case. He's not accepting his $500 or his 5 days. He says it's absolutely wrong, and he's going to fight the case to the bitter end. And you can see his point, you know, Graham Motion.
Just to stay on that for a moment, you know, there's always rumours flying around. There's positives here, there's positives there, and there's so many different products they're catching people for. Are the tests getting very sensitive? I know they pushed out, the Jockey Club or NHRA sent out a notice the other day that the excretion time on certain things has been extended because it's got a couple of the guys, should I say, panicky because of the sensitivity when they're doing these quantitative tests. It's putting pressure on a lot of guys in the sense that you shouldn't have it in your system, we agree. But if they keep pushing it out, how sensitive do they want to make it, James?
Well, I can talk from experience. I've been involved in a few of these things. I know exactly what they're all about. But the big problem is, okay, how they do the initial testing. That is the big problem.
Yes.
If the initial testing is done according to the rules, the worldwide rules from the IFHC, International Federation of Horse Racing Chemists, if the initial test is done correctly, there shouldn't be any problems. But we're not sure that the initial testing is done correctly. We're not sure
on
that
different
it's a blanket
on different substances.
Well, that's the thing, because at the end of the day, they can find anything they want if they want to find it.
Yeah,
if you target a drug, you'll find it. Okay.
So you need to,
because the test is so sensitive that you can find whatever you want.
Yeah.
Is that right? And does that make people dopers? Because that's what they turn around and say immediately. Graham Motion sits in this situation. Immediately he's caught with one. I
think the word dopers have got to be thrown right out of racing.
I was reading Maggie Moss. She's one of the biggest owners in America, and I met her, and she's a very, very good racing person. She had a full go last week about some guy being caught for something else, one of her trainers, and she says she's been with him forever, and she knows that she has a big string with him. There is no way this guy gives these horses anything. And he was caught, and she was very upset about it. And
yeah, well, I think watch this space. I think there's going to be news coming in from America about it. They've got to. I don't know. I suppose they've got thresholds that they work to, but
I think the thresholds in some cases are completely out of kilter, and sometimes the drugs are in the wrong classification. There's all types of things that need to be tightened up, but you need to do it on a basis whereby the people who are catching and the people who are being caught can work together, so that you don't want to let anyone get away with anything, but you don't want to actually end up having a situation where you're actually jeopardizing a man's career.
What I want to ask you something, James. If they sent it to this lab you're talking about, where they do these testings, and you want the testings done, we want to use their recommendations, yet their fines are so small compared to ours.
Well, it's crazy.
Can't we have the same recommendation? Can't we have the same fine structure?
It's crazy. It makes no sense. And I know that there's There's all types of people in the last couple of years who've been caught for various infringements on of the doping rules, and really the fines are completely out of kilter. But you see, we'll talk about it in
your
our
call.
current affairs, your call at least, where we've got these emails, because a couple of people bring up some emails about some of the price structures.
All right. Have you got anything else?
No, I just wishing Mike Bass again.
Yeah, all the best to Mike Bass.
Strength, Mike.
Yeah, we're thinking about seeing you soon.
We'll be back with their emails after this lot.
Largo Deluxe is closest to us with his head in front. Tennessee Strategy and Midnight Serenade. But Largo Deluxe is now stretching out in devastating style. Undefeated, 4 from 4. He's like a strike of lightning. Here's Largo Deluxe.
Well, right, as we said, we've got a couple of very interesting emails that have come in, and quite topical, worth having a discussion. And Lef, you can open the bag.
Yeah, thanks very much for sending in those mails. It's always good to get an opinion and get it out there. We'll try and air it for you and let you know what we can, and get some facts out there if we can. We do often get a letter and refer to the correct people to find out what the truth is on some of these statements. But the first one comes from Rick in Cape Town. And basically what Rick's saying, he enjoyed our insert on NHRA's pricing structure regarding imported horses. Now, the I'll try that again. NHRA pricing is out of control, period, to say the least. Last year, the NHRA charged a compulsory levy of 500 Rand on each foal registered to fund Racing South Africa, headed by Peter Gibson. I don't think that entity is still around, as the staff was retrenched. This year, the fee to register a foal was 1,375. Going forward, the fee will be 1,700, an increase of more than 20%. Then they have the added fee of a microchip these foals. Every year, it's a new fee, and what do you get for these price hikes? It would be interesting if you could look at the increases over the last 5 years. No wonder our owner base is shrinking year on year. Our admin has become too expensive compared to other countries, regard Rick in Cape Town. I concur.
So do I.
Yeah, we both. That's why we brought it up on our show, and I agree. The powers that be can't keep leaving these guys, from the breeder right the way up to the owner, to everyone involved, to own a horse today. And James, if you manage to get your colours, and you live in the outskirts, if you're in Dundee or something, you have to come all the way in and get your colours badge. They should courier to the owner. They should do something, especially the guys in the outskirts. But what's stopping them going up even higher, James?
Well, if you look at it from their situation, okay, they're right between a rock and a hard place. The operators fund the NHRA.
Yes.
And whatever else they need, they fund out of fines, which are excessive, as we've discussed already, and out of pricing for registrations. Now, James, this has been a perennial argument.
But James, that money is going to a group which have their place, we have no doubt, which Peter Gibson heads this group, and they're trying to work internationally and make it better, get the protocols. But this argument is starting to wear thin after 15 years of being in the same situation. And people are starting to get their goat and say, we've got a situation where owners are getting out the game, as this guy puts it. It's harder to stay in the game because the costs are so big. Now the costs, all these little excesses are going to something that's not benefiting these guys. Why not say, hey, we've got to find another way of getting this money in?
Yeah. Can you imagine what fees it costs someone like Marcus Jooster? The fees that he must pay in is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know the
register,
answer.
James, to register an imported horse, it's now 13,000 something. Don't say only the wealthy people can afford to bring them in. They're the lifeblood. Yeah. Everybody, from the guy at the bottom to the guy at the top, treat them all the same. They're the guys who are putting their money in. You can't keep on burdening the racing people, the NHRA.
We had this discussion the other day, and I was approached by a couple of people who were quite interested in what our standpoint was, and our standpoint is quite simply, these horses are benefiting the racing industry in this country. Maybe we should be paying those people to bring those horses in. They're paying a fortune to bring those horses in. Maybe they should be getting some type of kickback, you know?
Yeah, you bring it also. You know, the champion breeders in South Africa are Claverflay. And have a look at Claverflay's brood band of mares, how many imported.
Brood band?
Yes.
Brood mare band.
Brood mare band. Brood band of mares?
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you want to be pedantic, I see the South Africans won at rugby. Anyway, we will notice that it's the champion breeders, Claverflay, have got many Australian mares.
They've got about 200 imported mares on that.
I'd be guessing the numbers. You know, you'd have to speak to someone like John Costa, that is. But I certainly think they've got to put a stop to. You can't keep burdening these people, and I'm very strong on this. And Rick, thanks very much for highlighting it again.
Fees altogether should be looked at, and certainly looked at by the operators as far as...
Go race in Dubai, James. Go race in Dubai. Do you think they want money from you to bring your horse there? They think you want to register your owners. You need big exorbitant amounts. They don't do that. They want your horse there. Come, bring your horses. Make it a better game. Okay,
we're going on to Mike Ravji. And Mike Ravji.
Okay.
He's from Ravers52 at Gmail. He's probably my age.
Ravers.
Yeah, Ravers. He's probably my age. Good show. Keep it up. What's the criteria when horses enter the starting pens? The reason I ask is whenever a horse enters first, I rarely see them win. Also, if there's an odds-on or fancied horse, they always take their position towards the end. I'm not sure if this is a myth. Perhaps you can shed some light.
Well,
we can.
Well, Mike Ravji, the scenario is that the NHRA have a system where all horses are graded. They're graded when you're taken to pens, and the more nervous ones and the more claustrophobic ones are given a chance to go in late. And they work to it, and every trainer can get to the race course, look at the position his horse is going to enter the gate, and know from the word go what type of field he's up against. And I think it's a very good system, isn't it, James?
Well, then they changed the system the year
introduced
before last.
The 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds.
Which with the 2-year-olds, they introduced 1 and 7. Say it's a 14-horse field, 1 and 7,
like the
2 and 8, 3 and 9, all the way along. So you load 2 horses at a time. And it doesn't matter how your horse behaves, you go in there, so you go to school your horse properly.
And they've had a lot of joy with it. I remember speaking to Sean Parker, who's the chief stipendiary steward down here, and he said they've had a lot of joy, and they're starting to bring it in from everywhere. So, but they have exceptions. Some horses will go in without a rider. Some horses are really claustrophobic. So they view it. They spend a lot of time on it, the NHRA, so there's no real favoritism for that. But on a personal note, I've found over the years that invariably the horses that go in late are the ones that jump late. I found a horse standing there for a long time wants to get out of there. And I mean, they say, well, the rest of the field have been standing. And just as on a personal note, I found my horses going early, I don't panic. If they go into the back, they're fidgeting, they're jumping. You already hurry, boom, jump, and you get left. So it's a personal thing.
Yeah, it's a personal thing. Let's go on and have a look at what Norman's got to say.
Okay, now the next guy is Norman Dietlifs. Thank you, Norman, for coming through to us. And here is what Norman's put out there. His question to us without his question mark, is do the public realize the carryover monies are subject to a second time of taxation plus whatever the tote takes? Is this really fair, Norman Dietlifs? Well, James and I discussed it before, and we both sought clarity. James knew it, I didn't. James was 100% correct. Tell us what happens, James.
Well, they don't tax the addition to the pool. The pool gets taxed. The addition doesn't get taxed. So if there's 500,000 put into the pool as an add-on, it's an add-on at the end. They added on early in the day because it helps make the pool look bigger.
So James, this is right. Let me just use round figures. We've got a R1 million carryover.
Yeah.
The pool goes to 5 million. Only 4 million is taxed.
Correct.
That's it. So that initial million
the new pool is taxed. The old pool is not taxed. It's been taxed already. You can't double tax something.
So you don't double tax. So that's Norman, that's straightforward. You're not getting a double dip here by the operators. It's only the new pool that will be taxed. All right, James, we've now got Martin. Now, Martin's got a couple of pages here. Interesting. I think he's got some opinions, and he's quite harsh.
Martin LaRue, very harsh on Peter Gibson. He's not sure that Peter Gibson is doing anything for the industry, and it's quite a long letter, but basically he says that the money being spent in the last 15 years the operation that Peter heads up, and especially listening to what Peter had to say last week about his visit to China, is certainly not beneficial to us at all, and maybe the money should be spent elsewhere.
There's a big school of thought that this money's been used and the results aren't coming through. But having spoken to Peter, Peter's a very passionate man. He's doing what he thinks is right, and he's plugging away at something that, would you rather we didn't do? Would you rather we sat back and said, right, we've got this money, let's invest it into racing and hope that people say, let's take us. We have to keep nagging. The old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, is true here. And I feel for Peter because doors just don't open, James. It's where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, the interesting thing is, and what I will say in Peter's defense, is Peter told us all those years, and he's been on this show, as Martin says, a number of times, that he was making progress and that things were going to happen and this and that and the other. And then he got put out the picture, and we got Professor Sana and that bunch, okay, and they came in and they said exactly the same. Within a year, we'll be able to export and this and that and the other. Well, nothing's happened. We've been 18 months and nothing's happened at all.
That backs up Martin's argument. Martin might not be personally having a go at Peter. Peter has to be heavy lies the head that wears the crown. He's facing the wrath. But people behind him, the virologists, the vets, everyone has got involved in this. Even the likes of Michael de Kock, who went the political route using all his connections. And is there a more powerful man than Michael de Kock in that aspect? We have had no joy. I feel for Michael de Kock. I feel for the guys who want to travel horses. I feel for everybody, especially if you can get a situation where our breeders can get horses out as well, James.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shocking situation, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. But you've got to have these people in these places of power, and you've got to be able to pay them. Let's go and have a look what Vincent's got to say.
Okay, Vincent Bell sending us something here. Interesting that... he said, I was just wondering if you could shed some light on the rules followed with the jackpot quick mix a few weeks ago. And a runner was left out on the tote information card posted up in the totes. James, that's something you can't have happen often. That's not good. And Gold Circle then decided to include the field in the last leg of the jackpot quick mix to cover everybody. Is this a standard rule? I think it would be. They wouldn't.
Yes, it is.
Yes, they wouldn't jump to anything else. He believes if you'd have made a decision like this, let the race run, and if the 5 horse won, then take the second runner as the winning bet, the jackpot. So basically, the horse that's left out, if that happened to win, the horse that finished second would become the winner. Now, there's problems.
Yeah, it leads to problems, because then what happens is that if you didn't use the information tab on the tab sheet, and you use the information off the computer from the race meeting, and you put in the horse, now how do you work it out from there?
You want your wins. So you'll have 2 sets of winners.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't work, and I think that this is the right way that they do it. All these rules have some type of downside to them. And at the end of the day, the downside is his mate who's going to win the big cash, didn't win the big cash, which is, it's sad, because you'd like to see a guy win the big cash.
Yeah, it's Vincent, I feel sorry for your mate, but it really is hard to win the big races, and you got to hope he catches the next one.
Right, Roy Petrie is having a go at Equus Awards, and Siren's Call is obviously a special filly to him. And he says, if Siren's Call had won the Triple Tiara, would she automatically have been voted the best 3-year-old filly? What shocked me was that she was not even nominated. Okay.
What happens if she should have won that, James? Let's just pause there for a moment. If she had won the Triple Crown, which she was denied by inches, if she had won that, she would have been the Triple Tiara winner.
Well, Ormond Ferraris' filly won the Triple Tiara and was the champion 3-year-old filly. Yeah. Even though she got well beaten here in the
yes, okay, Will Evington.
2000, Will Evington.
Yeah, she didn't fire in the Will Evington. It wasn't her one. So that he's got a point in the sense that if it wins the Triple Tiara, which it lost by inches, would it have been at least firstly nominated to be the winner in that field? Or would it have been a certainty?
This is the problem with Equus Awards, and he goes on to say, couldn't a better way of choosing the Equus winners be found that does not rely totally on human choice? Why not a system where the winners and placed horses of grade red races are awarded points? Obviously, the amount of points will depend on the value of the race. To maintain the suspense of who the winners of the Equus Awards will be, will be only 1 or 2 people who know the number awarded for each race at the end of the season. Well, that doesn't really work. You've got to be transparent in the amount of points, and then you still come back to the personal part about it. And he says, which would you class a better horse? One who wins 3 graded races over the same distance, say 1,400 meters, or one that wins graded races over distance from 1,200 to 2,400 meters. And he's starting to sort of delve into personal.
James, they
feelings.
were looking. I know people always say your yardstick should be Group 1 racing, but if you have the Majmu, who had thrashed everything in the Group 2, was unbeaten, and looked to be the superior filly, which she proved she was a top filly, beating the likes of same jurisdiction who had won a Group 1. You will always have that little bit of doubt. And some people saying, right, let's stick with the Group 1 status. If you're good enough, aim for the Group 1.
Okay, let's just have a quick look at what won Magic Millions horses.
Here we go. Again, Duke of Marmalade, James. Marmalade, 50,000 purchase. This is a good horse. It won very well the other day. And
she's won 3 in a row. We picked her up as
genuine
one to follow. Genuine hat-trick.
Genuine hat-trick.
Yeah, and let's go back to Roy Petrie.
Yeah,
because he says now something.
James, Petey.
Roy Petey. He says now something positive. Congrats to whoever's responsible for Turf Talk. Turf Talk's our sister racing program. For those of you who don't know, it goes out on Sunday nights. There are people who are vital to the horse racing, and racegoers don't even know they exist, and they don't get the recognition they deserve. To name 3, the vet, the farrier, and the groom. And he goes on about how important all these people are, and how Turf Talk's article on the farriers was very informative. And he thinks that they should do stipendiary stewards, race commentators, and I think it's a great idea. It's a great program.
The more you can expose our industry out there, the better it is for everybody. And I have no doubts that Turf Talk's doing a wonderful job, and we try and make it interesting. We've had vets on the show. We've had a lot of different people on the show. So let's take note of what Roy Petey had to say. Thanks very much for the letter, Roy. Right, now this is a 3-in-1, and it's from Anand Subramani. And Anand at Subs, James.
Yeah, Subs. He's from Dundee, so he's
Dundee.
Dundee July.
I liked reading his letter, and he's got a few interesting points that they've got to start scrolling your. He said the scrolling on your TV screen. He said there's no need for detailed results leg by leg if it is a tedious task, but rather just scroll the type of exotic and its payout. For example, Grable, Barpot, 456. PA 132.80, pick 6, jackpot, whatever. This will be extremely beneficial since in most cases you have to wait to hear those dividends, which never get mentioned as a priority. And he said people are out there waiting to see what happens or goes on, because the presenter is focusing on getting the next race out, getting the next turnover. Very good point. His next part of his letter is he's in Dundee, as we said, and he talks about a point that's come up before, that we are diluting it going into big races, giving 5 and 6 places. He says you should have the scenario where you have your 1, 2, 3 places, as well as, if you're going to give those other 2, give us the 1, 2, 3 as well, so that if we can crack it in the first 3, we can get a good dividend. And we're looking for those roughies. That's why our pools are big and pick 6s. People are looking to make a couple of quid. And he said give it some thought. And lastly, what was interesting is, a very good point here, James. He's out in Dundee, and they obviously have the Dundee July, and he really enjoys it out there. But he says what we've got to do is the communication, the exposure. There's no flyers. People aren't going out there and saying, here we are. The Elan Gold Cup, he said there wasn't enough on that. And you've got to start getting a bit of hype into your outside districts, James, the periphery.
No doubt. The more people that you can touch in your endeavour to make this industry what it should be, the best around, the better it is. So let's go on to the last one, and we've got Roy Petey again. Is there no control on the use of a whip by jockeys? He said a horse was winning by 8 lengths, and the jockey hit it 5 times, and he didn't need to hit the horse in the last 100 meters. He could have stopped riding and still won the race. But very interesting dilemma jockeys have, because if you stop riding, you're going to get a fine.
Absolutely. You cannot stop riding, but you don't have to thrash a horse. You know, I agree. You know, you can have the green people having a go, and they've got a point. Worldwide, there's been a ban on people who use excessive use of the whip, and I don't know if it's 7 or 8 times in a certain amount of distance that's been sort of legally allowed. But James, there's guiding a horse with your whip, and there's thrashing a horse.
Yeah, absolutely.
I watched the race on Friday at home, and I was sitting at home. I'd come home and I was watching, and I watched a head-on, and I was really amazed at how many times the winner was hit with a stick. And I thought to myself, phew, that is something that I hope is picked up. I don't know how hard he was hitting the horse, but it was a desperate finish, 4 or 5 horses across the track. And this horse, phew, really got a few smacks. I think it's got to be controlled very strictly, James.
What I can say, and you've been in the business as long as I have, I remember in the old days with the whips that they used to have, those whalebone whips.
Yes.
They used to mark horses.
Yes.
The horse would have wheels on it if it got a proper smack. Today, I've never seen a horse with any marks on it whatsoever. These new whips that they've made, aerodynamic and very soft.
It's like folded up newspaper.
They really do not hurt
They do
at all.
have,
And I know if you hit yourself on the leg, those old whips, you take your kneecap off. The new whips, you can sit there while you're telling your jockeys what to do, tapping yourself on.
Threatening him. You can threaten him with his
and
whip.
It actually just gives quite a nice warm sensation.
A very valid point there. The official whips that they're using today are very usable, and they're not as harsh and severe as James just alluded to. And I think it's a very valid point, James. Yeah. But again, you don't want to see a guy getting stuck into a horse and thrashing it, even if it's not having the same effect.
It's such an interesting subject, because some horses are real lazy blighters, and they need to get a smack around the bum every now and again. Some horses just do their very best, they try their hardest, they don't need anything, you know.
Yeah.
So you're going to see it all the way through racing, and you see some jockeys who are really good on horses that just need a tender ride.
Yeah. A lot of top jockeys are like that.
Yeah, and they just keep them balanced and get them going, and you think to yourself, the greatest was Lester Piggott. There's never been an artist with a whip like that. He was an absolute artist.
And he used it.
He never marked them, but he could get the best out of them.
Very good point. Use it judicially. If one compares Jimmy Anderson, Andrew Fortune, they are not stick riders. Then you'd have a great, and they were great riders. They are great riders, or they were great riders.
Reese van Wyk used to hit them quite hard.
Felix Coetzee, a great rider. Reese, fantastic rider. These guys were known that they want no shenanigans from their horse. Felix used to have a white whip.
Yeah, well, that was because it was all the blind people could see.
Oh, is that what it was? So they could see.
It was a stick, so when he walked in the parade ring.
Oh, okay. So you found his way to. But Felix I'm one of the huge fans of Felix. What he's done for this industry. But he was a guy who went for the stick.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Anderson and Fortune could ride without a whip.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Two fantastic horsemen.
It's very interesting, and there's a myriad of things that we can talk about which you'd find very interesting. But thanks to all the players that have given us something to talk about on the show, and it's been fun, you know, with some really interesting stuff. And I hope you have a good
that's our lot for this week's show. Your call is always interesting when we get the mail, and there's some good points that have come up. So bear in mind what we told you about the double dipping of the pool. It doesn't happen, and I think that ties us up. James, we're finished.
Yeah, laugh until next week. I hope you have a good week, and you got a bit of relaxation this week. You're not on treatment this week, are you?
No treatment for 3 weeks. So
so you'll be bouncing.
I'll be as strong as a lion. I'll be unplayable in a week's time.
From Paul and me, you have a great week's racing.